What's going on, guys? It's your man Ed Hayes, the wholesale coach here, back for another video, guys. And in this one is highly anticipated video. I've got Chad from All the Leads out here. He is a probate expert, guys, and I'm so excited to get him onto the channel so he can discuss probate leads. He's going to discuss his system, which is called All the Leads. Like I said, we're going to talk about how you can start getting these probate deals coming in. I get this requested all the time. Everybody wants to know how to get these leads. Well, Chad is going to talk about it. I'm going to let him introduce himself. How are you, Chad?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
I want it all. Expensive trip, exotic calls. When I took that loss.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, my name's Chad Corbett. I'm the co-founder of a company called All the Leads. We focus on helping families in probate, and we do that through the real estate agent, broker, and investor community more than anything. And really, like our number one core value is provide value first, which is why we're here. It's why we do these things. So I think you gathered some questions from the audience, kind of what inquiring minds want to know, and I'm willing to go anywhere you want with the conversation. So let's jump in.
Okay, that sounds perfect. So why don't we just start off? I know like some people who may be watching this video, it's their first time even hearing of a probate deal. They don't know exactly like what it is. Can you kind of explain that for them? Like, what is a probate deal?
Sure. So probate is simply the legal process of settling an estate. A lot of people think that's all about assets. Quite frankly, it's more about taxes and getting debts paid, settling liabilities, than it is about assets. The asset distribution is the very last thing to happen. So most people will go through probate. A common misconception is, well, they had a will, so they don't have to go through probate. That's not true. So just some terminology. If there is a will when somebody passes, that's known as testate succession. Probate is still required. If there is not a will, that's known as intestate succession. Probate is still required unless it falls under an exemption. So the main reasons an estate wouldn't be probated is that all the assets are held in a living trust, whether it's revocable or irrevocable. It doesn't matter, but a trust does not have to be probated. It's not a matter of public record. There are ways to find those, mainly through organic, building a referral network. But pretty much everything else does need to be probated, unless the most common exemption is met, which is the small estate exemption. In most states, that's $100,000. So if the total value of the assets are less than $100,000, then in most cases you petition the court for a small estate exemption, and you don't have to go through probate. So when you find low income areas or really rural areas that where people don't have a lot of net worth, they might be, there may be 1 million people. Well, that's not really true. Like there might be 75,000 people in a county that gets 15 or 20 leads, where we can have the same size county in a more metro area, 75,000 people, and we'll get, 90 to 150 leads out of that county. And it's simply because more people are coming in above that $100,000 bar. So they do have to go through probate. So if you're in a rural market, or if you're kind of shocked by the amount of the little amount of probate leads in your market, it's probably because a lot of them are coming in under that $100,000 exemption. So, and then if property is passed by contract, so if a contract like an annuity or a life insurance policy or an investment fund, portfolio, anything that passes contractually to a named beneficiary. So if it says party A is party B spouse, if party B is deceased and party A is the owner of this property, or vice versa, then that doesn't have to be part of the probate. Now that doesn't mean the entire state doesn't have to be, but that's not part of it. So those are kind of the exemptions. It's a lot easier to talk about when you don't go through probate. Every other scenario in the world, you pretty much have to go through probate. And it doesn't matter what value your estate is above that 100,000 mark. I mean, it's kind of the same painful process for everybody.
Right.
I think if you want, I'll go ahead and kind of walk through the timeline of what that looks like. We
Yeah,
kind of talk about terminology. So typically when somebody passes away, the typical behavior, and this isn't law, it isn't a rule or anything, it's just what we've noticed about human behavior doing this for 5 years. So it's a median of 68 days from the date of death until the date of probate filing nationwide. Now, what that means is most people are taking a couple of months to kind of process the loss and look at what has to be done. And then finally, a couple months in, they drive down to the courthouse and file probate. Now, some people are going to do it the day after the funeral. Others will wait 10, 15, 20 years. I had one all the way back to 1983. And until they go to refinance or give the house to a family member and the title search comes back, they either didn't realize or didn't care that the estate needed to be probated. But to close the chain of title, you have to retroactively probate the estate. And that's what you'll eventually, if you do this for a while, you'll eventually see some that are a couple years or older. And that's usually, that's 99% of the time, that's what it is. They either didn't understand the requirements of probate and just kept paying the taxes and kept receiving mail and just nobody really was notified until they had to transfer property. And then someone said, well, wait, you can't do this. You have to probate the estate first. So typically it's a 2-month time frame from the death until somebody files. Now, it's important to understand what a probate filing, why that's significant. So it's kind of, the family has lost somebody. They went to the funeral. They've probably gone through the house, looked for important documents, taken, the jewelry and things that were important to the family. And then they started to grieve and process. But one day they had a breakthrough and they got in the car, they drove downtown, they paid for parking, they looked for the county clerk's office, they found the county clerk, they sit down, they talked to a probate clerk, then they went to an attorney. So they've made this mental commit, like they finally had this breakthrough that resulted in action, and now they're in a different state of mind. So now it's not grieving and thinking about the funeral. Now they've been given all these other things to think about. So they're in a different mindset. So this is the point where a person in probate becomes a probate lead in your eyes. So
right.
They're ready to they're ready to deal with the business end of this. So it's been a couple months. We know what we got to do. We got to start. So that's when it becomes a valuable lead. That's where we're gathering. So what we do, we send researchers into courthouses. Typically it's done with pen and paper because you can't have electronic devices in most courthouses. So we're going through the public record. We're getting the name, all the information for the deceased, for the attorney, and for the case. And then we bring that back. We do a data append. So we give you up to 4 good phone numbers for the personal representative, which is not on public record. We have a slot available and it's almost never populated because hardly any courthouse in the country gives you a phone number for that person. But what they do give you is the attorney's phone number, and about a quarter of the time we get the attorney's email. So we bring that back. We're adding the phone numbers to it. We push it into a CRM that's designed specifically for this type of lead and specifically to save you time and money. And you've got your data. And there's a lot of other things we do. I'll get that's the probate process and kind of how that lead ends up getting there.
Right.
And I'll wait for follow-up questions.
Okay, yeah. So that's a lot to unpack right there. So it's like the person goes through this pretty substantial process, and like they really have to like realize that they need to sell the property first, and then they actually have to go out, like talk to attorneys, try to get it figured out, and then you all actually do this all manually. I think that's one of the best. One of the things that really captured my attention about all the leads is that this stuff is all done manually. You've actually got people at the courthouses getting this information. I think that's huge. Yeah. So just in general, though, also for the audience, like there's not a lot of competition for probate leads as well. I think a lot of people don't realize that it's not as much competition for probate leads versus like a vacant absentee owner. That seems like everybody wants vacant absentee owners, but since the probate process is time consuming and a lot of times it can be really difficult to actually get those leads in the first place, a lot of times when you reach out to probate leads, you may be the only person who's called them so far. So just for the audience that doesn't know, like these are some of the hottest leads that you can possibly get, honestly. And so, yeah, but like so the timeline though, what does it look like on a timeline typically? So I know it takes them on median, you say 68 days to actually start the process.
Yep.
But like once they start the process, what does that timeline look like?
So that's where it starts to vary greatly. Like we know at that point in time at the probate filing, we have a lot of consistency throughout the list. Like somebody died, somebody from the family, or somebody stepped up and is willing to administer the estate. From there, you have a million different variables that could take these in different directions. They're all like they're very unique, like a thumbprint. Typically 6 to 9 months in most states. And states like California, Hawaii, Nevada, they have a more complicated process, and it can sometimes take a year or even 2. And it really depends on I guess I'll say the diligence of the people involved, the family, the attorney, the courts, but also just the sheer amount of assets and liabilities that are contained within the estate. So obviously if a guy owned 1 car and lived in an apartment and had $100,000, pension plan, it needs to be probated, but it's pretty simple. Where if it's, a gentleman who's bought 100 rental properties in his own name over a 40-year period and has a primary residence and his pension and his military, like benefits and retirement and life insurance, then it's a lot more to unravel. So they all kind of vary from there. I think you guys like statistics? Is your audience, are they possibly geeks like we are? So, 64% of Americans own real estate, but 78.8% of senior citizens own real estate. And what we find is, and statistically, 80% of Americans' wealth is held in their primary residence. It's the largest asset most people ever own. So what we know is that in order to settle a probate, most families will have to sell the home. And that's why these are valuable leads. Now, the approach we take is drastically different than what most other people take. So you said something earlier about, there's very little competition. And it is true. You're going to find a ton of competition in the mailbox from other investors, but they're all going to be saying the same thing. We buy houses, close fast, on your terms, no closing costs, no commissions. It's the same message that we're using for absentee or anything else. Mm-hmm. What's interesting and what I learned, so just to, I guess, back up, I should have told you this in the intro, but I moved from Maui, Hawaii, where I was selling multi-million-dollar beachfront whole ownership, to Roanoke, Virginia, so I went from a median price of $1.35 million to $140,000. And I knew nothing about wholesaling or even the investment side of the business. I was in development. Like I knew how to raise money, get resorts built, and get paid, right?
Gotcha.
Big learning curve for me, but I made a lifestyle change. I didn't want to be, I just wasn't happy out there. So I started buying houses first. I started wholesaling and started to learn about that industry. And I had real estate license in 4 states. So I understood the brokerage side of things, but not really the investment side of things. And it was, I did, wholesales, flips, lease options, some portfolio sales. And then eventually I started to notice just how many of my, like we buy houses leads were actually either in probate or they'd already cleared probate and they were inherited properties, but they still had the same motivating factors that they wanted to sell them. Right. And I was going in with my investor hat on first. And if they didn't take my offer, I'd try to put my realtor hat on and keep rapport. And I shot myself in the foot every time. So what I learned was that Chad, the investor, and Chad, the realtor, needed to take a damn hike and just get out of here. But Chad needed to show up at these houses. And when I figured that out, when Chad was a guy focusing on helping families in probate, and he was willing to talk about anything in the estate, then people had a lot more reason and a lot less apprehension to talk to Chad. So what I found is I had like exponentially more opportunities, and I had really solid, authentic rapport with these people because I was willing to talk about the personal property, the cars out back, the 4-wheelers, the firearms collection, the train collection, like how to get the house fixed up, secured, how can you do it if you're out of town. I was willing to talk about anything to earn that real estate conversation. And that's when it clicked. Like that was the golden key. So for me, and if you follow our content, you'll see we kind of use a hub and a wheel concept. So I became, instead of being the spoke of brokerage or the spoke of the investor, I became the hub in the center. So I was Chad. I was a guy who built a team of people locally to help families going through probate. And I know the first thing they're going to talk about is real estate. But if they bring it up versus me bringing it up, it's a whole different tone of conversation. When I figured that out, this became fun and easy. And I had no competition. So the approach that we take is a lot different. Like we're not focusing on calling an executor and acting like we know the story and we know that they have a house they need to sell right now.
Right.
We're calling the executor saying, hey, I've got a team of people here locally built specifically to help families going through what you're going through. What's been the toughest thing for you guys? And we're not, we didn't call ourselves a real estate professional, real estate agent, real estate investor. Just stay the hell away from it, because that's what everybody else is doing. And what's amazing about that is even in, like, we have people in San Francisco, San Diego, LA, Denver is the toughest in the country. Midtown Manhattan. I mean, we've got success stories from people in super competitive markets that are brand new to the business, and they're killing it. And unfortunately, we don't always get those video interviews because they're like, hell no. Like yesterday, we have a guy that's just cleaning up. And he's like, I asked him, we were joking back and forth on email. And his response to, can I get you to do one of these videos, was, hell no. He's like, I'll do anything for you guys. I'll send you everyone I know that's not in my market, but I'm not going to tell everybody in the world what I'm doing. And here I am telling the world what he's doing. But that there is very little competition that provides real value. And, you know, just reaching out to somebody in probate and offering to buy their house for cash, even though we know it's a valuable service, they don't perceive it that way because of all the guys that are out there doing it the wrong way. They're selfishly saying, you got my money in your pocket and I want the money in my pocket, right?
Exactly.
That's horseshit. You'll never make it in this business with that mindset. You'll make it you'll make it a few deals and then you'll wash out and you'll find something else. But if you can get in that empathetic mindset, and that's the key here is empathy. So understanding how they feel and what their challenges are, and then just simply creating a service to, you know, basically you bring up the red flags in the conversation and your service goes through and pulls the red flags and fixes it one at a time. That's how you get a wholesale deal for 50 cents on the dollar when the other guys got the door slammed in their face. It's changing the approach and offering options. And so back to the hub and the wheel, we're the hub. A spoke is like wholesaling or cash offers. Another one might be creative finance, like bridge financing to help them get the house fixed up and you know, get more equity. Another is brokerage. So if you don't have a real estate agent or you're not one, you should have one or you should be one. So you're not leaving money on the table. And a lot of investors leave a ton of money on the table because they just focus on buying the house. And you always hear this, and everyone's coaching, oh, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Get a big list, send a bunch of mail, burn through the phones. But with probate, what I found is it's not so much a numbers game as an empathy game. Like you can take 120 leads and run your entire business off of it if you just take the time to focus on people and situation and then find a way to quickly segue to real estate and get paid. And providing those services like bringing in an estate sale company, selling the personal property instead of throwing it away so they get some instant cash. That, like, it's empathy, again, listening to their problems. Like I tell a story a lot. The first real aha deal for me on this was I pulled and I talked about this with Ty. You've heard this story, but maybe your audience hasn't. I pulled a list after reading an NAR home buyer and seller survey. I pulled a list of homes that they said that the average American will sell their home every 9 years. So I said, what if we went, I went to List Source, pulled a list of homes that hadn't transferred in 9 years that had at least 50% equity. So I could buy them for a wholesale price, knowing that, you know, 99% of them wouldn't, you know, were in good condition and wouldn't sell. But I was like, I wonder if I can find that prime wholesale that needs no work and I can make a $20,000 spread, right?
Right.
It was a really bad list. Don't ever mail that list. It was just a trial. I spent maybe $1,000 on it. It was a stupid idea, but I didn't know. Like, that's how I found probate too. But anyways, one of the people on that list actually turned out to be in probate. Even they had a free and clear house, so they ended up on that list. But as it turned out, they were in probate. for
Right.
the father had passed away. The mother called me and said, don't you ever email me, don't mail me again. I'll never sell this house. I'm going to die here. I said, all right, well,
Okay.
that's fine. I understand. I took her off the list. 60 days later, I get a call from a lady in tears, like frantic. She had driven 5.5 hours from North Carolina overnight. Her mother was in the emergency room. They were wanting to she had a massive stroke, and they were trying to discharge her from the hospital into a rehab facility, and there was no money to pay for it, and she had no long-term care plan. Well, as we talked for a few minutes, I found out the house had been on the market for 12 months with a big box brokerage, no showings, no offers. It was priced correctly. It was just marketed wrong, and they left all the personal property in. They didn't stage it. It was cluttered. So what she needed, what was most important to this woman, was time and money, both. And usually you can narrow a deal down to one. But for her, she had an urgency to get money fast, and she had an urgency to get the most amount of money possible.
Mm-hmm.
And, with a wholesale deal, that's only going to meet one of those criteria. I can get you money in 2 or 3 days as soon as title comes back, but it's not going to be above your retail price or above. It's going to be at a discount. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it, right? So I said, here's the deal. Let me ask you a few questions. Give me 2 hours to do some homework, and I'll be over. And she's like, you mean today? And I'm like, yeah, like I can be there in just a bit. So I jump on, do some analysis, figure out, what could be done with the house. It was free and clear, so we could do a lot with it. And I took her 4 options. So I met with her. We walked through the house, and I sat down. I'm like, so here's the deal. I'm just gonna show you everything that could be done, and then you're gonna pick whatever you think is best for you. So option 1 was a wholesale. I think I offered 80 or maybe 88 on that one. Cash deal, closing in 2 or 3 days as soon as title got in, and she had the money, and that would get her mom through about 10 months of care in the rehab facility.
Right.
She didn't, obviously she flinched on that. Option 2 was we go back to MLS, but as is, where is. We sell it, no contingencies, as is, where is. Let's go find the landlord to pick this house up is typically where those deals go.
Right.
And we could get obviously more money, but it's going to take more time, like 30 to 45 days. Option 3 was we'll sell some stuff in the house. We'll sell the contents of the house, put that money back into construction, and then take it to the market as a retail listing, as a conventional listing. And then we're going to get the most amount of money, but we're probably looking at that timeline, we're looking at 60 to 90 days potentially,
right.
Depending on how it all goes. And then option 4 was essentially option 3, but with creative financing. So the benefit to that, so I presented it to her as a lease with option to purchase, where we'd take $1,100 first month, last month, an $8,000 fee, waive all the contingencies, do title work, move them in, close it. She gets a check today. Her mother, we get a few months of the nursing home paid for, the rehab facility paid for, and then we sell the house for full price, no negotiation, no contingencies. And price or terms, pick one. And she was willing to sell the house on terms. To my surprise, she chose the lease option. So the way it shook out is I pulled an estate sale company in that I knew dealt in antique furniture. The furniture in the bedroom, I had no idea what it was worth. It just looked like old furniture to me, but I knew it was solid white oak. I could tell by looking at it. So he shows up. He's like, this is handmade. She's like, yeah, my dad made it in the basement back in the 40s or 50s. And I'm like, really?
Wow.
He said, I'll write you a check for $5,000 and I'll take it out. And I was like, whoa, because we almost donated it to Goodwill. We came back close to donating. And it was probably 10 grand worth of furniture. He offered us $5,000, and I was like, perfect. So we only took half of that money and gave it to the contractor. Took $2,500, gave it to the contractor, paint, fixtures, just a cosmetic rehab to dress it up a little. Put it out to my buyers list. We came back with four really well qualified tenant buyers. One of them was a pair of Navy veterans who forgot to pay a utility bill when they left Pennsylvania. So they were like this close to qualifying for VA financing. The other 3, we actually turned into conventional buyers, and I did deals with them over the next 30 to 60 days. I got 3 conventional buyer deals because they thought they couldn't buy, but they could. They just needed some coaching. So we ended up netting that lady $25,000 more than the house had expired, with no offers and no interest at all.
Wow.
And she was just blown away. And that was kind of the deal for me. I'm like, okay, so all I did was listen to her problems, understood what her needs were, and then brought in a few people that I already knew. And I was like, wow, how many of these people are there? Like, how many Pams are there? And that was the very first one. I always tell that story, but she ended up getting all of her problems solved. So we got rid of the house. We got rid of the valuable furniture and got the rest into a storage solution until her mother would recover enough in the rehab facility where we could move that stuff from climate controlled storage to there. We brought a contractor in. We did some light work. I'm my own photographer because I like photography and it's just a fun challenge for me. But so we had photography. So we used a lot of the spokes in the wheel. We presented her options that included a lot of spokes, including the cash offer and different things. So I was like, what if that was the offer to everyone? Like, instead of waiting for them to have a problem calling me, what if I just presented that wheel and all the spokes, like all these services? So contractors, clean out crews, staging, photography, registered investment advisors, CPAs, nursing home employees, social workers, senior moving companies, you can just keep adding those spokes. So that gives me, rather than one reason for somebody to call me, a cash offer, it gives me 25 reasons for someone to call me.
A whole plethora.
They can call me to talk about any of those things. And we're quickly going to find our way to whatever I want to talk about because I'm going to have control of the conversation and we'll lean in that direction.
Right.
That mindset shift is what I see the difference between most people having 100 competitors and having none. If you present a true value to the community, if you present an offer like that people find real value in, nobody can compete with you.
Right.
Like, you're the only guy in town once you make contact.
See, and it's like I tell my audience similar things all the time when it comes to just wholesaling in general. Like, I tell them, don't just go start reaching out to these sellers and be on the phone with them lying, talking about, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy your property. You don't even have no buyers. I tell them, reach out to your buyers first, become a concierge for them, work backwards, like tell them that you want to get them a customized experience for them. So that's like really similar. It's kind of like the same mind state, like work differently. Don't do what everyone else is doing. You have to be different out here. But I love the personalized touch that you use with these probate deals. Like you don't focus on the property. You make it about actually helping them and handling the estate. And then from there, it's like you offer them pretty much the whole package. I love it. Honestly, like, to me, that's a catered experience. And like you said, it's like everybody else is just like, hey, we got the property, like they're dead set right on the property. They just go dead for the jugular immediately and trying to get the money on the property, and they get blown out the water.
And it works probably 1 or 2% of the time. But that's not a very good success rate. Like, I think that to have a sustainable niche in your business, you got to do something that works most of the time. And offering real value get you into real conversations, right? The other thing I want to say that we haven't said is that the whole idea here is that you don't do any more work. So it gives you more opportunities to have more conversations and more opportunities to monetize those conversations. Right. But all you want is the appearance of a vertically integrated business. You don't actually want to be running a vertically integrated business because you don't want all those spokes in the wheel. You think if you were running all that stuff under one roof, it would be impossible to focus. So
checks the sign.
From a marketing perspective, we want that perspective, and it works, man. I showed up on appointments, and they're like, "My God, your office must be the size of Walmart. Where are you guys? In the industrial park?" And I'm like, "Yeah, nah, we're spread out." But people really believe that our team is all in one office building, so they think we've got contractors and CPAs and attorneys, everything in this one big clearinghouse, like the Walmart Supercenter of probate help. And that's what we want until we have a conversation. And then we'll start to introduce them to the individual team members. The idea here, guys, is not for you to do any of this work. So you can spend 3 more minutes on the phone having a different approach, and then spend another minute or two sending an email to all your vendors telling them to reach out to this person, and then you're done. So you can get properties completely cleaned out with one 30-second phone call. Hey, Jim, 123 Walnut Street. Her name's Polly. Give her a call and let me know if that can be done in 2 weeks. Thanks, man. Back. And you're done. Like, that's how you clean a house out if you have the right partner. Now, you and Jim have had to have some conversation and talk about expectations and what you expect him to do for your clients. But it's his job to go earn that contract, get the sale done, get the money in her pocket so that you can give that money to your contractor. And when it's time for that, you pick up the phone. Hey, Bill, you remember that job? It's about $3,000 worth of work, 123 Walnut Street, tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Can you be there? Great. So you just rehabbed the house in 30 seconds. Like, so if you use your head and set your team up that way, you're not doing the work, but you're getting the social credit. Like they respond to you when you're on the phone, when you're in the mailbox. You get credit for having all that service because you're the one that put it together, but you're not actually doing the work yourself. So it's a sustainable model. And I think some people think, my God, how could you ever do all these things? And none of the money is coming through your business. Like, if you're not keeping the money, why the hell would you want it on your books? Exactly. So they're having individual contractual relationships with the personal representative, just as you will when you get to a purchase agreement, but you get the credit. Anyway, that's the real big differentiator and what makes this so effective in almost any market. Now, I'm going to tell you, I've trained thousands of investors and agents, and I knew nothing about this. In 2012 was the first year that I had even heard about it. And I jumped in and I fell on my face and I did it. Everything that I'm saying is the right way. I've done every wrong way you can do it. I've done it. Like, I understand. And I've very, very, very deliberately created a system that worked. And I have 3 business partners in all the leads. My partner, Jim, was also doing this down in Florida. And we kind of put our heads together and said, hey, this is something different. No one's really teaching this. In the investor community, people have been talking about probate for years, but in the brokerage community, no one had ever really talked about it. And we said, what if we could take these, this unique model that we've kind of discovered and scale that up and teach people around the country, and then go get the leads for them, and then do the marketing for them, and then make their phone calls for them, and just completely automate the entire process so they can just do what they're good at. They can focus on people and situation and how to make money doing that, right? And that's kind of where we're at today. So one of the one of the questions we talked about, it may have been before we started recording, but is, what makes all the leads different? And what makes us different is, like, quite honestly, my why is not focused on our customers. Like, our customers are super important to me, but my why, my outcome, is focused on the consumer experience. So how can I take what Chad learned here in Roanoke and reach hundreds of thousands of families nationwide? Now, as I work backwards, just like I teach everybody to do with most things, like, I want to affect as many consumers as I can and make this a less stressful experience for them and get them more equity in the estate. In order to do that, I have to work with folks like you. I have to work with investors, with realtors, with appraisers, with financial advisors who actually have a business that serves those people already. And I can take what I've learned and what we've developed in this business between me and my partners, teach that to a few thousand individuals, and then they can go reach hundreds of thousands. And so that's the impact I want to make. But ultimately, we in order to make that impact, we have to provide a better mousetrap for the investors, for the realtors. Like, we have to help identify choke points and get rid of them. And that's really how our system has been developed. We started out just basically emailing spreadsheets, and we've evolved into, and I don't know if you want to get into that right now, but like, we've evolved along the way. And do you want to go into everything we offer right now?
Yeah, I was about to say, I know that, I was checking out the website myself. When I know that you all offer like training, I know you do like mastermind calls and things of that nature. So it's a lot of like hands-on, like, we're going to help you get these deals. I really, really like that about you all service. So yeah, why don't you kind of go into a little bit more about what all does all the leads have to offer? Honestly, I think a lot of people that's watching this, watching this webinar right now is probably thinking like, man, like, this sounds really great. How do I get in? What else do you have? So yeah.
Sure. So I'll just we'll follow the lead from the courthouse all the way through, like, the potential. We are subscription based. We don't believe in contracts. We don't need them. If we're doing what we promised, then you'll be with us next month because you won't call and cancel, right?
Right.
So there's no contracts. You should have a long-term mindset. If you think you're going to buy one probate list and go out and hit it big, you're probably delusional. Like
Mm-hmm.
it does
Exactly.
take some time. Now, I'm not saying you won't buy a list and get a deal like first day, because it happens literally every week. We have that happen to people, but it's not the expectation I like to set, because like, you know, if you think you're going to get 10 deals on your first list of 50 leads, then you're going to quit, because you're like, hey, no contract, it didn't work, I'm out. So
Right.
I would say if you're just getting started, especially if you don't have a good, strong acquisition skill set, like if you haven't gotten, let's just say, your first 5 properties under contract and wholesaled, you should look at this as a 6-month trial, a minimum. Like if you got really good negotiating skills and you're really good at building rapport, and you don't do a deal in the first 3 months, that's one thing. But if you're still building that skill set, like if you're still learning how to build rapport and how to negotiate and how to you know, creatively structure deals,
Right.
you could be looking at this as like a 6-month trial. Like don't
Makes
judge
sense.
it in the first month, don't judge it in the second month, because some of these will take action like right now. Others will call like 2-3 months down the road, and they are more motivated 3 months from now than they ever were when it first happened.
Right.
There's so many variables, like changes in health, like this time of year, like grass is starting to grow and shrubs are growing, and you know, property maintenance is getting out of control, and they just can't keep up with it.
Right.
So, and that's the other thing, like a list of 6 months old probates can a lot of times be more valuable than a current list,
That makes
because
sense.
these folks they've started to feel the pain. Their procrastination is catching up with them, and they're like, damn it, we got to deal with this. Like it's getting worse. And then they get motivated. So I'll kind of walk through from the lead all the way through everything we provide. The subscription, that we have a lot of different prices, because we have different costs based on what market we're gathering data in. So we won't talk about pricing. If you want, you can go to go to the link below and look and check your county. You'll see how many leads you're getting, but you won't see a price, because that's dynamic pricing that changes. And I'm frankly not going to edit 3,145 web pages every week.
I hear that.
So you won't see pricing. Our sales team will reach out, or you can call us at the number below, and we'll definitely give you the price and the counts and everything for your county. So essentially, where our service starts, we send a live researcher. In 95% of cases, we're sending a human into a courthouse. They're getting the public data. They're coming back, databasing that. We append and augment for good contact information. We push that into a CRM designed specifically for this type of lead. So you've got the information for the deceased, the personal representative, the attorney, and then the court information. And then below that, you can keep notes. You can opt people out. The CRM is designed, it's free, it's included. It's designed to save you time and money. So every time that you talk to somebody who doesn't have real estate, already sold it, keeping it in the family, you can click opt out of calls, opt out of mail, and then you won't be charged, or you won't have to do that the next time. The data is still there. We just opt them out, so your marketing cost gets progressively lower throughout the campaign.
Okay.
So the leads get pushed into there. We have all the letters that are proven, and I've spent tens of thousands of dollars of my own money figuring out which letters did and did not work. You won't see the ones that didn't work. So we've got proven letters that have worked in all 50 states and metro or rural markets. Like they just work. You go in there, you set up your letter, you set up your envelope, you set up your marketing sequence, and you can do all this in like under 30 minutes. You pick letter 1, phone call 1, letter 2, phone call 2.
So it's like we can actual sequence. You get to break them down.
Set up a sequence, and we have an ISA center, so we can make the calls for you. If you're good on the phone, you already have that skill set, I suggest you do it yourself. But if you're simply not going to get it done, if it's too much work to get done, or if you're not good on the phones, you can hire us to do it. So we'll set up your marketing campaign. You'll say letter 1, phone call 1, letter 2, phone call 2, letter 3, phone call 3. What we recommend is a minimum of a 3-month campaign. So you want to be marketing to these folks for 90 days, because some of them, like I said, will take action right now, and some of them will have their head in the sand for another 30 or 60 or 90 days, and then they'll get highly, highly motivated. So you set up your sequence, you click the autopilot button. So the next month when the leads come in, or when your first leads come in, they'll hit like we go out, grab the phone numbers, they hit the CRM orders your mail, the mail fulfills, orders your phone call, phone call fulfills, you start getting text messages and emails with your appointments. And next month, it just repeats. And the next month, it repeats. So you can literally take 30 minutes, set up a marketing campaign. We will do all of your data, like the data research. We've built the software. We completely manage everything behind the scenes. And we'll completely automate your marketing campaign.
Okay.
Every Thursday.
I was just gonna say real quick, the callers. What are the callers doing on the phone? Are they like scheduling appointments, or are they like what is actually happening on the phone call when they're cold?
So what they're looking for is there real estate? Is there motivation to sell? And can we set a face-to-face appointment? If not, let's set a phone appointment. So so about 20% of the time right now, we're setting face-to-face appointments, like at the property.
Okay.
80% of the time, we're setting up a follow-up phone appointment, because an ISA typically is not going to have the skill set to go, or we don't want them to go as deep into rapport building as we do who they're calling for.
Right.
We'll have them build some surface rapport, get the appointment, and then take good notes and hand it off to you, so you can really build rapport and figure out what the problems are and come up with the solution.
Nice.
The face-to-face appointment. So we are about 20% of the time we're going direct we'll get you to the house. 80% of the time we know that that's not the best. So we'll get you on the phone so you can get to the house.
Right. Okay, I like that. I think that's extremely nice. Like that's pretty much what I want my cold callers doing, is pretty much at least scheduling an appointment in person. If they can't do that, schedule a follow-up phone call for my acquisition manager to call them back, or my another cold caller to call them back, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Either call them back. So yeah, that definitely. Okay. I'm glad to hear that. Okay.
Yeah.
So continue. My bad. I slowed you down. Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, so in addition to the leads and everything we talked about with the leads and marketing, one of the most valuable things I think for everybody and that has found all the leads is our weekly mastermind calls. So every Thursday at 1 p.m. and we'll put the number in the notes below. But every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, we host an hour-long mastermind call, and we have agents, brokers, investors, lenders, appraisers, people from multiple industries that serve folks in this phase of life. And it's really an open forum. Like, people bring their problems, people bring their success stories, people come to learn like how do you put a deal together. It's, this person passed away and this person's disputing the will. There's 2 copies of the will. What would you do? And so we get to kind of analyze some really complex situations, and it's usually Jim and I kind of become the transaction engineers and be like, oh, do this, do this, do this, do this, and people go put the deal together. So it's really a free coaching call. It's a place to learn about what's working, what's not working, get coaching from probably the top 2 guys in the entire country in this space. And there's no charge for that. That's something we provide as part of your subscription. The first Wednesday of each month, we also do a role play call for an hour just on probate role play. I being the genius I am, I throw myself in the hot seat and let people from all over the country just hammer away. Those are always interesting. We have unique content, but all this stuff is archived. We have over 500 hours of just probate specific conversations that, like, almost every hour of it is unique. There's not a whole lot of redundancy. So it's, we talk to investors, we talk to realtors, we talk to brokers, we talk to estate sale companies. And and the message is always the same. Like, I don't train a brand new wholesaler any different than I do a mega team real estate owner that's doing 1,000 deals a year, on market. The skill set's the same. You be empathetic, you focus on people and situation, earn the right to talk about real estate, and then go get paid. It doesn't matter who's listening. If you use that approach, you will help people and you will make money. In addition to all that, so that's all included in your subscription. The things that we don't include in the subscription, because not everybody is going to want to use those services. You mentioned the training. So I teach a class right now. It's being taught live once a month. It's called Probate Mastery. And for $250, you get basically everything I know about probate. The course material, it ends up running about 9 hours over 3 days. We do it in three consecutive afternoons. It comes with a national certification, so certified probate expert. You'll get both digital and hard copy certificates of your certification.
Nice.
And then we have a Facebook group where that's kind of the higher level, the folks that have really kind of raised the bar for themselves and really gone all in on this. So you kind of become part of that certified probate expert community. That's, like I said, $250. In my opinion, I'm pretty biased because it's my training, but I think it's by far the most comprehensive probate training in the country.
And that sounds like a very reasonable price too. 9 hours over 3 days for
I'm selling myself short for sure.
Hey, I mean, to learn how to do everything with probates, honestly, I think, a lot of people pay a ton for that, honestly, because it's like everybody wants to know about probates. It's like those, it's like a hidden, mysterious type thing where everybody's like, oh, how do you get the probate list? And most of the time when they come across them, they're failing at it. And, so I think a lot of people could really, really benefit from this. I'm definitely going to have those links down below, guys. I know you guys that's watching this, like you love to actually get into the nitty gritty. You want to learn as much as possible. You want to make sure that you're doing things right and whatnot. So I'm definitely going to make sure that I drop all of Chad's links down below so you all can benefit from this content, this training. He really goes in depth, and as you all can obviously tell, he knows his stuff. So definitely make sure that you take advantage of those links down below. Seriously.
Yeah. So that's called Probate Mastery, and we'll link to that. The other things that we don't include in the subscription but are available to you, we do have a mailing service. It's a full service mail house. We can do the letters we send are, I don't have one within reach here. The greeting card envelope, hand address, live first class stamp. You guys have seen them. I'm sure everybody's used those before.
Mm-hmm.
It's still what works hands down better than anything else. So we're sending those at $1.50 each. There's no drop fees, no setup fees. We'll help you with copywriting. We make sure that no two people are ever sending the same letter in the same market. That's part of our human quality control. And we're not nickel and diming. Like it's $1.50 out the door, postage paid, everything, and you get a copy of your own letter in the mail, so you know what it looks like, what it feels like, and when it got there.
Nice.
Our ISA service, we're going to call all 4 numbers for the personal representative, leave messages, and that's right now we're doing $250 for two attempts to each number. So for $2.50, let's say you have a list of 100 for $250, we'll run through that list twice, and that's through the end of this month. And then we may look at actually including even more touches in that for that price.
Right.
We do custom WordPress websites. So if if you're going to be in the mailbox, you should be online, and they don't convert, they don't index, they're not supposed to. You can certainly make them do that, but that's not the intent. The intent, like we're charging $200 to custom build a WordPress website. Go find that somewhere else.
That's a good deal, honestly.
Great deal. I mean, we're going to make it match your core. If you have an existing website, we'll make sure it looks exactly the same. You can interface them, so the customer experience, they never even know that they're going back and forth between websites. But what that does, like in the PS line of every letter, I put, PS, if you're not ready to speak to anyone just yet, check out why we do what we do here. And what I find is if I send 100 letters, I can get 50 web hits that afternoon, like the afternoon they're delivered. So I know that the letters are getting opened, they're getting read all the way to the PS line, and they're coming to check me out online.
Yep.
And I give that a lot of credit for all like just to basically come list it or come by it. Those phone calls. I think a lot of that work was done by the website.
Right.
So we offer that
to retarget those people when you go next level. You can start to retarget them, send Google ads, Facebook ads, all of that stuff. So yeah.
So that's the next thing. We offer digital marketing service. So we have a digital marketing service called Lead Follow. We are marketing to them on Facebook, but also on 650 different ad display networks. So we're set up as a wholesaler. So we have, I think, 5.3 billion daily placements for ads. What we're doing is we're creating a custom audience in Facebook using your probate list. So we go in and do a match and append and find them. And right now we have an 86% match rate on probate personal representatives in Facebook. We get 86%, which is huge.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're doing is we're drawing a geofence around the personal representative's house and the deceased last known address. So we've got 2 geofences. We capture every device ID that goes into that geofence, and then we market to them on 650 different ad platforms.
Wow.
So we're marketing to them through their damn smartwatch. Like while they're out jogging, like we're marketing to them, you know, on their watch, on their device, on their phone. We're getting daily impressions anywhere from 5 to 25 daily impressions for pennies, like usually under 8 cents.
Nice.
So that's one of the other things we do. So we've talked about mail, we've talked about phone calls, we've talked about digital marketing, we've talked about all the paid training, the free training. We do so much, I don't even know if I've forgotten anything. But the idea here, guys, is anytime that we've seen the industry struggle, we stepped up. And like when we see a choke point, we try to introduce an automated solution. We didn't know we were going to have a call center. We didn't know we were going to have a mail center. We didn't know we were going to build websites or do, you know, like advanced training. That's because you guys told us that's what you needed. Like we saw, like we start to identify common points of failure, and then we build a solution to plug that hole, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of been the evolution of all the leads. Like it started out with a simple idea of, go get public data, reach out to people that are highly motivated to sell houses. But as we've learned more and more about it and been able to work with literally thousands of investors and agents nationwide, we get an inside look into this niche that like nobody has. And we see the need both for the consumer, but also for our customers. Like consumers struggle here, so the customer should be offering this.
Right.
Offering that creates this struggle, so we need to offer this. And it comes like the buck stops with us. So we improve our system to make it easier for the customer so they can help more consumers. And that's kind of how we got where we are, and it's where we'll get to where we're headed, you know, with what's next.
Man, it makes sense though. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, Chad. Like, man, it sounds like you all, and I really, really mean this. I'm not even just saying it or whatever. It really, really sounds like you all have that one-stop shop for probates in general, honestly. And it just seems like it's not even, it seems like the same strategy that you used for the probate leads is like the same strategy that you like using for all the leads. You know, it's like a vertically integrated, you've got everything that you need to get the job done right there as soon as you get started. So I like that, honestly.
I mean, and if you're like, I'm assuming most of you guys are already marketing to some list, whether it's absentee or vacant or whatever it is. Everything I talked about here today, I learned that it applies to all those lists. So empathy for a divorce, empathy for a vacant house, empathy for foreclosure, understanding their position, being a listener before a talker, and like listening to their problems, helping see the solution, and then having you and a team of people to just attack that problem and make a molehill out of their mountain. It works for any list. Like what we talked about here today is equally as effective in vacant house. I've got tons of stories. It works for NOD, for weed and trash abatements, liens. Like it works for like delinquent taxes. If you can understand these people, have a servant's heart, and focus on the people and situation, earn the real estate, then eventually they realize, all right, there's no way out. I have to sell. Then who are they going to trust? Who they have rapport with? Who are they going to sign the purchase agreement with? If it's all about numbers, it does then you got all the competition in town. But if you've built rapport and provided real value, and even if your number's lower, I've bought houses where I know damn well my price was $10,000 less. But there was something else that was a stronger motivating or stronger, like they wanted something else more than just the money. And I paid attention to that, and that's why I got the deal. I mean, I've bought houses for 13 grand, turned around and flipped them for 56 grand later that afternoon. But it was because I did something that others were unwilling to do. I went in and cleaned out, 3 years of human waste from a house. And but I mean, will you clean out a house full of crap literally for $26,000 in 8 hours?
I sure would. Real fast.
Right. And I didn't do the work. I'm smarter than that.
I hear you on that, right?
But I got the work done. Anyways, everything we talked about here today will apply in really any area of wholesaling. Like you give me a list, and an empathetic approach will be the key to unlocking that list and not having very much competition. Even if everyone else has the list, it doesn't matter. It's your approach is what matters.
That's so true. That's so true. I think that the personalized touch, like you said, it makes the It makes the whole difference. Don't go in just being thirsty for the money. Like I tell people on the channel all the time, don't go in just being thirsty, trying to get deals, just thirsty for the property and just trying to get all of this money. Just take your time, be patient, build up that rapport, get to know the seller, actually help them solve problems. That's when you get paid. When you genuinely don't look at the person as like a potential paycheck, look at them as someone who has a problem that you can solve, and like genuinely just try to solve the problem. And when you come with that type of mentality, I've always come with great results, nothing but great results every single time that I focus on the customer and just stay solution oriented and not like check oriented, just thinking about the money. So it's so important, honestly. And I think
I learned that like in my sales career and you know, resort sales, it was anytime you had commission breath, people would smell it from a mile away, right?
Yep.
And it's the same thing in wholesaling. Like when I thought I needed a deal the most is when I had zero damn chance of getting one.
Yep.
But when I focused on who can I help today, all of a sudden that $13,000 deal showed up because a guy walked across the street and said, "Hey, you done flipping this one? You ready for your next project?" And I wasn't even focused on making money. I was focused on getting to know the neighbors and making sure, like showing them my flip and making sure they liked it. And so anytime like desperation, it's paradoxically desperation just pushes what you want further away.
Yeah.
And focusing on helping people money just always finds its way to you.
Yep.
Like if you go through this life with good intent in business and personal life, it just always seemed like the value you put out is directly matched, and money is nothing but the way to keep score for the value we provide the world.
Oh man.
If you don't have any money, it's not anyone else's fault. You're not providing any real value. Go fix that first. And don't focus on the money, focus on the value. That's what we're saying.
Facts. I tell people that all the time. Like you said, money is a measuring stick for how much you're doing in the world. I really, really love that line. I think I read that in a book one time before. For real. That's so true though. That's so true. So guys, like, like this has been a really good interview, Chad. I really appreciate you coming out. I think that the audience is really going to gain a lot from this, just from our conversation. But honestly, guys, like if you all are really trying to dive into like starting to get these probate deals specifically, or just any deal in general, honestly, I truly believe that Chad is the man. Chad is the man. Like dead seriously though, like all the leads is where it's at, guys. I'm going to make sure that I drop that. You all can check it out. It's not going to be anything fancy. I'm not going to drop like a fancy link or anything. Just drop a link down there. Y'all check it out. Get up on it. Chad, the people over there. Jim, I talked to Jim. I was talking to Kat over there. You know, I've been conversing with the guys over at the guys and gals over at All the Leads Alive, guys. There's some really stand-up people, seriously. I'm just, I'm really like, I want y'all to know that this is like legit. We're not just like making a video and just, trying to get y'all to buy something. I genuinely trust and believe in All the Leads service, and I'm even going to use them for myself. So just so you all know, it's like I'm highly interested as well. I think that in some of these counties, real quick, now I'm talking about that, in some of these counties, you've got it broken down like a couple counties up in the nation, right? I know that, I think you was telling me that.
Pretty much just Los Angeles, Maricopa, and Cook. So like around Chicago, Phoenix, and LA, those are the just geographic monsters that people are unwilling to work the entire market, but they're also unwilling to bite off 800 leads because they know they can't get to all of them. So in those three mega markets, we've broken them into 4 or 5 smaller segments, and you can buy whichever segments you want. But in most cases, the lead counts are low enough. We actually focus on the county level, because in most counties, like in my county, I can drive from one side to the other in no more than 40 minutes midday.
Right.
So I can handle that, right?
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Maricopa, it could take you 6 hours just to drive across the county.
Yeah, just like Chicago.
No accidents, right?
Yeah, I think Chicago may even be the largest county in the whole nation, if I'm not Cook County specifically. Yeah,
they have. I think they're averaging like 750 probate leads a month in Cook County, which is.
I'll be grabbing some of those real soon. Just know that.
I mean, it's a lot to bite off, but that's a good example. Like if you have a realtor you might get 6 or 7 deals a month wholesale out of that list. So what happens to the other 695? That's where you need to partner with a good realtor. You need to partner with a good estate sale company, a financial advisor, so you can refer this business out and start creating social capital that's due back, right? It's like, here's some free money for you guys. Just remember where that came from, right?
Exactly.
So when you're needing your next deal, it's just going to show up. You're not going to go out and beg for it and be sitting there focusing on money and doing affirmations like, I'm worth money. I'm worth money. Like, you don't have to do that shit, because you're putting value out into the world that finds its way back to you tenfold.
Right.
And just full circle what we were talking about a few minutes ago. So we do break some of those up so they're more manageable. But if you wanted to bite off all of Cook County, you can certainly feed your team with what's there, and that will be reciprocated. So
right. So a couple more questions, actually. The amount that you pay when you start, does that stay the same? Like if it's more leads, maybe this month you got 50, next month is 60. Does the price stay the same, or does that change?
So what we're finding, like between now and 2060, we're going to lose about 86 million people from the baby boomer generation. So probate numbers are on an exponential increase at least through like 2060. Now that generation, fortunately, is living longer than any ever has. So, the nursing home industry cried they cried wolf back in the 90s because they thought the industry was about to get steamrolled. Now, a lot of people put a lot of money into that, and they went bankrupt in the 90s and the 2000s. And now the industry is about to get steamrolled because it's actually happening. But you're going to see those lead counts progressively rise. We're in the very beginning of the largest wealth transfer this country's ever seen. Like as much as $136 trillion will transfer from the baby boomers to their kids, or to to the next generation. It's unfathomable.
That's crazy.
There's not even that many pieces of sand in the entire U.S. coastline. Like there's not that much sand. Like it's more money than we can even really wrap our head around, right? So what you're going to find is over time, those lead counts are increasing in almost every market, but we aren't going to be increasing your cost. Now, if you sign up with us, we'll basically grandfather you in at that cost. So we're not going to be, adjusting pricing all the time. Now, if it ever, and I can't think of a time where we've ever had this happen, but if we ever get to a point where we're losing money, obviously we would have to raise the price because we're not in business to be out of business. We're in business. Right.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
But for the most, like in every situation I know of, you come in on day one, we lock you in at that price. If the price has to go up for others, it won't go up for you. If the price can go down, we bring it down for everybody. So if you signed up for a county at $800 and all of a sudden we find out that we can use a researcher in 3 courthouses on one day versus paying 3 different sets of mileage and gas, then we can lower the cost of that county, and our margins are thin. We manage them. So, but if we lower that price, we'll lower it for everyone in the county. Where if we have to raise a price, we won't raise it on the people that are already there. We may raise it so anyone new coming in will help pick up that. So we're not going to nickel and dime you or be counting your leads or saying, hey, you got more this month or less that month. We look at a 3-month rolling average. So when you look at your lead counts on using the link below, you'll see the rolling average of the last 3 months actual lead deliveries. Okay. Chances are it's going to stay close to that. But if you look at it 3 years from now, it'll probably be 20, 30, 40% higher than that.
Right.
But next month it should be about the same. And you have some fluctuations. Like we know that there's statistically, we see an 18% decrease in probate filings in the month of December. Can anyone guess why? Like it's just, but you see that come back in January, you see a big increase. But for the most part, it's pretty consistent in most markets. You'll get the same amount of leads on about the same day every month.
Okay.
It's very, very rare that you see like a big reduction in leads that's not followed by a huge influx the next month. So it balances out. Like I don't know of any markets where I've seen a downward trend for at least 3 months. Like they're all trending slowly up.
Gotcha.
So let's talk about, I'll kind of give you guys an idea of where to find all this stuff we're talking about. Obviously, alltheleads.com is our website. I want to point you to a couple of places. We have a Facebook group called All the Leads Mastermind. So 4 words, All the Leads Mastermind, one word. That's a Facebook community of roughly 3,500 people and we're like, if you don't answer the questions, there's only 2 questions. It's how'd you hear about us and what industry are you in? And if you can't answer those, you're not getting in. Like, we want to make sure that we only have people who are active in the real estate space as part of this conversation. So we're careful about who we let in, including you, so that there's real value once you get there, right? So we've got roughly 3,000 people, 3,500 people in there today. It is an incredible community. Like, if you step up and say, hey, I'm not understanding how this works, or I had this deal today and this, and this, it's amazing. Our customers beat us to helping people. Like, if someone puts up a scenario, 9 times out of 10, I get beat to the punch. Like, I'll come in as a 3rd or 4th down as the, like, the owner of the group. So it's an awesome community where you can learn a ton about this. Like, if you're not sure and you just want to watch from the sidelines, All the Leads Mastermind is a good place to start. You can find hundreds of hours of archives and like print, like all the blogs we write, all the calls, the mastermind call, the role play call. We do a series called Tips from the Trainer, Ask an Expert, like where we bring other people from other industries and they, like, usually me and them discuss. So there's tons and tons of stuff that we put there. So check out All the Leads Mastermind. Obviously, our Facebook page is All the Leads. YouTube is probably the real treasure trove. It's just youtube.com/all the leads, no spaces. But check out our YouTube channel. I mean, this will probably be living over there too, but we've got hours upon hours upon hours of just value, like of the discussion about probate, anything that I've learned, we're completely transparent and give away 90% of everything we have. So check us out over on YouTube. Check us out in our Facebook group. Raise your hand and start asking questions. The other thing you'll see on the Facebook page is probably the easiest place to find the dial-in info, and we'll put it below too. Come to our mastermind call every Thursday at 1 p.m. And especially if you're not sure, you want to kind of watch from a distance and see what this is all about, come and learn about probate. And when you're ready to jump, we'll be there. So, but anyway, that's, and you can find, my name's Chad Corbett, Corbett. You can find me on LinkedIn, or, and usually in those Facebook groups is the best way to get a hold of me. So.
Okay. All right. That's what I'm talking about. So guys, make sure that you all check out All the Leads. Go follow Chad online, guys. Get this free content, get all of the training, the resources, the tools that Chad and his team are putting out there. I'm going to be taking advantage of these tools and these resources myself. Okay, so definitely make sure that you all head over to All the Leads. I'm going to have a link down in the description below. Make sure that you check it out. I'm going to be posting this video everywhere. I want all of you all to be able to take advantage of these probate leads, start getting these deals coming in, start using different approaches. I really love the vertically integrated business model where it's like you've got everything. I love it, honestly. And I'm sure that if you all head over to the site, there's going to be a ton more information on the specifics of how to actually put these deals together. Tons of content. Check it out, guys, for real. So, man, Chad, I appreciate you. This has been a great interview. I think that the audience is definitely going to get a ton of value out of this. And I appreciate you for coming out. And yeah, I mean, is there anything else that you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I'll just say, guys, I mean, there's a lot of things to keep up with online, but if you found value in this, be sure to hit like below and subscribe to Eddie's channel. In the comments, you can feel free to ask questions. I'll try to keep an eye on it. I am leaving. I'm going to be out of the country for a month and another 12 days or so. But between now and then, I'll try to keep an eye on comments and help anybody any way I can. Eddie, if you see something I've missed, let me know. But you guys, I mean, come find us in those groups. Come find us on those calls. Find us here on Eddie's channel. And if you ever want to have me back, if you want to go deeper on it, we covered a lot of ground. We've had you guys drinking from a fire hose, but I'm sure there are questions. If you want to do follow-up interviews and focus on one certain aspect of probate, I'm here for you guys. We can do whatever's valuable to your audience.
That would be amazing. I'm sure. Yeah, for sure, man. It's my pleasure. I'm sure that the audience would love to have you back on. As you all are dropping comments, guys, leave questions, leave other comments or topics that you want me and Chad to talk about next time if you're watching this. All right. So we'll do another follow-up. We'll definitely get Chad back on. If he's down to do it, guys, get this content. Take advantage. Start taking action, though, most importantly. Don't get this information and don't do nothing. Like, as soon as you're done listening to this, start taking action immediately. Y'all know how I always tell you, don't just listen to these videos and don't do anything afterwards. Start taking action. Head over to All the Leads with the link down below. Get all of the free trainings, discussions, topics. Start getting those leads. See if your county is available, guys. Let's get it. For real. So anyway, though, guys, I guess we're going to go ahead and we're going to be wrapping this up. Chad, once again, I appreciate you. Oh, look at this. This light is messing games, playing games with me. Anyway, though, Chad, I appreciate you coming out, brother. As I always say, guys, until next time, we are out.
See you guys.
Yeah.